troopers and grinders, welcome to a pleasant surprise. That's how I'd encapsulate the MMA weekend so far, because not only did we get a solid card from the UFC, I'd honestly say one of the best cards we've seen in months, and that includes UFC 303. But a pleasant surprise for me, Hank the Tank, in our little competition we got between me and my comrade to my left, the Idaho Skatesman. Look at that little guy down there. Oh, God. Wait. Yeah, there. At number 8 in joint 8th place. So, I'm saving it for now. Eventually, I'll get 9th or 7th, but I'm holding that spot for now. It's me, Hank the Tank, coming in at number 8 in the Rush Hour fight pick tournament on Tapology. Surprising for me. Usually, I got 13 or 14 or occasionally fucking 21 or 22. But this time, I went on a bit of a hot streak. Daddy needs a new set of keys, and I got those damn keys to the house. The mayor gave me the key to the city this time. I had all the hacks on me this time. I didn't have as detailed picks as Idaho had in UFC 3, which was just getting that Pereira KO spot on. But I got more picks than a lot of people did, especially in the prelims. Which I did a lot of research for. So was happy to see that culminate, and I'm glad I actually got to view that live, because that was a really exciting moment for me. But uh-oh. I'm scrolling down a little bit.
What? You gotta scroll way down.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, the humanity. Well, you were telling me, Skatesman, that Sean did better than you. But that's not true. You only did slightly better than Sean. You're only better than him by one pick. But fucking this is the true atrocity. Denial did better than you, and he only picks based on his feelings, just on who he wants to see win.
Well, it's funny because Papa Chuck actually has a couple wins on events, and he was down there pretty bad. Listen, I did terrible, like really bad. But in my defense, I've been on vacation for 2 weeks, totally tuned out of MMA. But, you guys deserve better. I should have done better. And, we're just going to regroup, and brings our total to 4-3-1 tie for this competition. So Hank's catching up, and I can't get complacent, man. I gotta keep the lead going. So
well, Skatesman, someone wise once told me that excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and I don't know who I could be quoting there, but I definitely learned that from somebody. My memory isn't great. I think it was you, but I can't be sure. No Chill MMA, our boy, said, I saw a good breakdown saying Denver was good until the adrenaline of Dober Gene Silva passed. I mean, that's true. For me, the momentum of the card really started to switch once we got that no contest between Cody Brundage and Al Hassan. That immediately put out my good mood, even with the underdog of Charles Johnson beating Joshua Van, which went against my picks. I still thought it was a fantastic fight. Then we got a stupid no contest. And then after that, the card tried to save itself by having Julian Erosa tap C-Rod, which I'll get to later. I'm going to have a whole fucking spiel about that fight. But then after that, I think that No Chill's right. Muslim Salikov versus Ponzinibbio was just super boring. And then the main event, Rose tried to get Tracy Cortez out of there with that left hand, but not even she could save a 5-round women's main event from being 5 rounds. So it just comes with the territory, man. You book shit, you get shit. I still think it was a solid card. I thought it was a good card overall. I'd actually give it a B. But man, they always get cursed towards the end. It happens every time. I think it happened. Which card was it? It was Rosenstruik versus Gaziev, which was excellent. The prelims were fucking fantastic. Honestly, one of the best prelim cards of the year. And then that fucking Mokaev and Perez fight happened, and then it just all went downhill from there. Oh, and I think Vitor Petrino, his fight was rotten as well. And, sometimes the main card just completely blows. But that's what happens when it's poorly booked. Just happened. Like, honestly, the best thing to take away from this card is that as much as the UFC tried, they could not make this a bad card. As much as they tried to make this utter garbage. And I told everybody about it, that this was looking like a nightmare. And sometimes just the results of the fights prove you wrong. So this is not Dana's fault. This is not Dana or Hunter's fault whatsoever that this is a good card.
I mean, it was weird that like Evan Elder said he came out on 4 days' notice. Some other people, I think Jazavicius' opponent was
Yeah,
coming on short notice. Obviously, Gian Silva and the person in the main event short notice too. So I don't know what the fuck the UFC is doing. Like, why why do we have to keep doing all these short notice weird fights? I think since Danny Gay came in on like 4 hours notice, everyone just thinks it's cool, which it is. It's badass, but at the same time, it doesn't make for the best of matchups. So yeah, I agree with you though. I thought that the card was pretty solid, especially the prelims, but then the main card sort of dragged on. I think that they could have booked it a bit different placement wise, but yeah, overall, pretty damn good card.
for sure. Well, let's read some messages to Isha from Isha to see how he disagrees with us. What do you got for us, Isha? 40-year-olds actually trying to scrap versus wrestle, yet it's super boring. Isha, did you forget about Santiago Ponzinibbio taking Muslim Salkov down and doing absolutely nothing with it? No punches, dude. He didn't try anything once he got him down. Yeah, it was back and forth, but they were fighting in freaking slow motion. Was there a punch that landed? And you're like, ooh, I can't believe he hit him with that. There were none. There were no power shots done. It was just a little
And
back and forth. And you'd say
I'm
that
glad to hear
for
you got some sleep, man. Should have gotten some sleep earlier.
Here we go.
But,
Shouldn't have been a nap. Should have been a longer sleep. Oh, this is my man Matua Sablan, who I met in Bad MMA Math, the channel. Shout out to Bad MMA Math. He's a solid dude. He goes live, and he's got some people from the City Life community who are attending his chat. So he's a solid character. And I met this guy, and we bonded in the online chat. He's a good guy as well. Luana
sick, good to
Santos.
see you, man.
Yeah, so it's nice to see that we're building this skate tank community hour by hour, day by day, man. Oh, crap. We got a raid on our hands. Let's go.
What's
Paradox,
up, Western Mass?
yeah.
Good to see you, man. Paradox, thanks for sending in the people. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, people. So now you're going to see how we do our business for each stream that we do. We start off with a little bit of a rundown of the UFC, if it's on, or of the things that we covered as like the highlight of the weekend. And then we move on to my locks for the weekend. And I got a pretty good record when it comes to locks. Case in point, this weekend. First, we had, we might want to move our screens a little bit so we could see the name. Good old Alec Lawrence was in the LFA. This was not his debut, but he's had a few fights so far, and they've all been first round knockouts. And I figured that he would be able to do the same against Powell, who was 5-5 going into this thing and really didn't present much in the grappling or on the feet. And Alec Lawrence just wore him out over only 4 minutes in round one. There was a moment where Lawrence was trying to get a single leg on him, and Powell was trying to get a single leg on Lawrence, and he immediately got out of it, and Powell just crumbled. He was just on his knees. He was so gassed from just 4 minutes of a round that he just couldn't get up, and then Alec Lawrence just took his head off with a nasty uppercut and put him right out. So this was a battle of the gas tanks, and one of them is a jobber and the other isn't. So worked exactly as planned, but very pathetic outcome for Thomas Powell. A shame to the Powell family, including Colin Powell. Then we got Casey Tanner, who made his Contender Series debut, I believe, a year ago. Came up short in that one, but apparently, from what I remember from the highlight reel, he had a really good fight with his opponent, who was also an undefeated prospect. And Dana gave him a standing ovation after it was over. Honestly, could have been a fight that he would give like both fighters contracts for it, but he gave it to the guy who won the fight. Casey Tanner, meanwhile, I thought that he looked great in that fight, and he was an undefeated prospect in the LFA going into that. So I thought that he would walk through his opponent, even though he'd gone to a decision in his last fight. That's what I assumed he would get, but no, he got a round one submission against Thiago Bello. Didn't look great on the feet. He looked sort of jittery a little bit, I'd say, doing a little chicken walk, but I think that's just from inactivity, and then as soon as he got Bello down to the ground, it was over, and locked in the rear naked choke, and it was done. So good stuff. I remember there was someone in Isha's chat who had like a 4 or 5 fight parlay, and he was the last one in that parlay. So we definitely celebrated when that hit. So worked out, man. Good stuff. My locks were undefeated for the weekend. So on top of the good weekend that I had for the UFC card, but I don't want to gloat about it. I'm just saying how it is. I did well for the weekend, so I'm starting to catch up a little bit.
Good shit, man. And yeah, the locks are always pretty good. I think you've had like one, maybe two that have failed. So
Yeah.
good shit, man.
Well,
Good to
well,
see you, Crystal Miller, up in the chat. And
well, you
thanks
see-
again to Paradox for sending some people over. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thanks, Mass Climber, and thank you to Chadmus for getting us some of these people for the chat. Always makes the activity more fun for the channel, and we get to bounce off you guys, man. Merry Chadmus! If only we had Christmas every single day. That's what I get with combat sports, but some other form
All right.
of that is.
So let's get into this shit here. So the first fight was Evan Elder versus Darius Flowers. I thought that Evan Elder would get this one done. He ends up getting it done via knockout, I believe. Oh, submission, round 2. I thought it was funny that Darius Flowers trains out of a boxing academy. That was on full display, having, really no answer for Evan Elder on the ground. I think at one point he landed an up kick in the first round, but once he finally got down in the second round, he locked up that head and arm. Evan Elder, that is pretty nice. Says those tattoos are wild. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that tattoo is. I think it's actually the Gracie Barra, the G from that, but
yeah,
you guys got no submission game or submission defense apparently.
And he's also a big fan of the lead singer of Wham, because you gotta have faith. But
yeah, I don't know what is up with Darius Flowers, but I will admit that he's good at losing. Sort of like Johnny Walker. So hoping he sticks around. Evan Elder got a good win. He said it looks like the triangle from Assassin's Creed.
It very well might be.
But yeah, I mean, it was weird because I don't really want to mention this too much, but obviously a very interesting historical event took place just before this, and Evan Elder had shouted it out in his post-fight interview.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is at that point that
Thank the Lord, praise the Lord, baby.
It was at that point that he revealed that he took the fight on 4 days' notice, which is just strange. But yeah, I got that one wrong, and that's going to be a trend. Or I got that one right, but getting them wrong is going to be a trend as this card progresses.
Yeah, very soon. So. Yeah, I got Elder too. Both of us failed in accurately predicting how this fight was going to be finished. I just didn't have faith because it's a short notice fight, and both guys aren't very trained going into it. So I just assumed that they were going to just stand and bang and see who won, because they're sort of a blasé kind of attitude towards short notice fights sometimes. And I think they had Kevin Holland versus Jack Della Maddalena happen pretty late going into the Mexico card, and they just traded and nobody got knocked down, and it was a boring affair. And I thought that was just going to be how this fight ended up, but no. Darius Flowers, he lost to Jake Matthews by submission. I remember that was the first short notice fight that he had in the UFC, was against Jake Matthews. And as I recall, Darius Flowers was punching at nothing but air. He had terrible accuracy in his striking for being somebody who's known to be like a boxer, right? You said he trained at a boxing academy. It doesn't show. It does not show in MMA. It's like an MMA athlete not training for boxing and then going into boxing and not knowing how the gloves or the footwork work.
See Ben Askren.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a boxer going into MMA. I actually think that Ryan Garcia has more chances of being a successful MMA athlete than Darius Flowers ever could. At least his grappling is decent. But yeah, Darius Flowers was not. As soon as Elder got him down, this was Elder's World. La 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 la. Elder's World. And what I really loved about Elder's performance, despite the fact that he's a moron outside of MMA, is that he had Flowers' legs up, no Diddy, no Jones, and he was punching him in the abdomen and punching him in the sternum. It was punching him in the breadbasket, and I thought it was a brilliant strategy, because when you're in that position and you're punching downwards, but you're not throwing yourself at the opponent's head, like that doesn't give your opponent a lot of time to like counter you when you're going for shots. And so he was just getting like 6 or 7 free shots to the body when he had Flowers on his back. And I thought it was just brilliant. I don't know why fighters don't do that more often. Maybe it just depends on the build, but I think I saw Elder do that before in like his previous fight or the fight before that. And I thought that's a brilliant technique that other fighters should sort of learn from. So he got a bunch of shots to the body and then immediately just pounced on him when he was sore and locked in the arm triangle choke, and it was absolutely perfect and actually set the tone for the rest of the card. It was a fun finish. So very surprising result. I'm not getting a perfect score on this one, but it was my first win in what was a 5-fight win streak.
Yeah, our next fight was Andre Petrosky defeating Josh Friend via decision. I had picked Frem, which is a terrible, terrible pick because as Hank broke down in the preview show, Josh Frem does not have much grappling defense, and that held true because there was like one moment in the third round after Frem had got just washed in the grappling that he started to kind of throw some shots, put some combos together, started to hit Petrosky, and then we took him down, and I said, oh, this fight's over. Petrosky looked great. Couldn't finish Fremd, but I'm always surprised when Petrosky gets on the mic because he speaks perfect English, and like I guess I just don't know the guy well enough. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. He can speak perfect English.
Looks like he's Siberian.
But yeah, decent win for him. Not a great fight, but yeah, he looked good, and I guess that his dad wrestled at Penn State, and that showed through. So yeah,
let's read some comments first we got from the people. Western Mass Climber, yeah, he asked Isha something. You can tell by Flower's mustache that his upper lip is probably dead. How does that? Yeah, he looks like a TJ a little bit with that mouth open like a black hole. You know, if only he was right up to his opponent's face, it'd be a good photo. But yeah, Frem should join Ice Wars for sure. He definitely have more success than he would in mixed martial arts. But yeah, with this fight, it sort of played out like Darius Flowers versus Evan Elder, where okay, the one of them has solid boxing. Well, actually, no, it's not like that. In that Josh Fremd actually has decent boxing, and Darius Flowers has no boxing. But basically, he's a striker, and as soon as this thing goes to the ground, the wrestler is going to have the advantage. That's what happened here. I would say that Josh Fremd had the better shots of the two of them for the most part, but Petrosky just has more strength. And I think I said that Josh Fremd has a build that's actually really good for takedowns because he's taller than his opponent. So it would be pretty easy to scoop a double leg or a single leg. And that's what happened in pretty much every single round for this one. Petrosky is not very good when it comes to the striking. In fact, he didn't really get that many shots off even while he did have Fremd on the ground, but he pulled the Bryce Mitchell, brother. I held him down like he was a fucking hog, man. And he hog-tied him and kept him down there, man, for 3 whole rounds. It was a dominant grappling affair, but everybody was telling me that regardless of what happened in the fight, the fans lost. And that's a shame. I think I was the only one who was enjoying this thing because my pick won. So, hey, good for me. Good points for Hank the Tank.
Fair enough. And hopefully we'll see Josh Fremd continue his career in Ice Wars here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. He'd be more fun, that's for sure. But the train keeps
the next
on rolling.
fight was Luana Santos defeating Maria Agapova with a submission in the first round. Yeah, I rode with Agapova mostly because that one time we saw her look really good, and just hasn't happened since then. As we know, she's had a really terrible personal life since her last few UFC fights, and yeah, in hindsight, picking her was a terrible idea. Go ahead and roast me in the chat. Yeah, Luana Santos looked amazing. Made quick work of Maria Agapova. Yeah, not much to say there. She got a cute Tapology picture. So
for sure. And I hope she keeps that around and that they don't take another picture of her in 10 years and she just has blood running down her face and her bone structure is completely changed. That's probably what's going to happen if she's in the UFC long enough. So probably Photoshop, by the way. Anyway, yeah, I predicted this one pretty perfectly. All I missed was the round that it happened in because, you know, it's women's MMA. But Maria Agapova, yeah, I thought that she wouldn't look good going into this thing. Not even just in terms of mixed martial arts ability, but actual like physical structure. Like she wouldn't look good because she probably doesn't have a good training camp. She can't afford a decent training camp and probably was missing out on a lot of good food and stuff that would prepare her for this fight. And yeah, she did not look as well toned or muscled compared to Luana Santos. Like she looked a little frail in there. She had ability. She hit Santos with a few shots, but again, Santos just looked quicker. She looked more motivated, and eventually she got Agapova down. I started to get pretty pissed at Santos halfway into round one because I think she tried to. It was because here's the thing: going into this third fight, there had been 2 attempts at arm triangles. One of them was successful and the other wasn't, and you can guess who failed the arm triangle. It was fucking Petrosky. And I remember I was raging during my fight companion, just saying that this is basic MMA. If you have a guy down and you have the elbow around their neck and you're on the opposite side to where they are submittable, you've got to move around. You got to hit him with a few punches. And then eventually you got to get both legs over to the other side. Otherwise, the arm triangle isn't complete. Arm triangles that have tapped their opponents the fastest came when both their legs were on the opposite side of the person's body. And they just couldn't get it done, even when they could do it easily. Like her opponent wasn't offering any resistance to it. And she just could not, for the love of God, get both legs to one side. And so I was pissed at her for that. But then she switched positions and she got into one that is usually more successful for women's MMA athletes. And she got the backpack. Yeah! Dora needs to submit Maria Agapova. Will she use the rear naked choke? Excelente! And that's exactly what happened. She actually got Maria's mouth guard out. She squeezed her so tight that it went boop, like Steph Curry when he's chewing on his. But yeah, the mouth guard fell out. She tapped pretty easily. And yeah, I just thought that Maria would not be prepared for this fight. So that's exactly what happened. I feel bad for her, but hey, them's the breaks, and they're probably going to cut her.
Yeah, they probably should. But it was a really good highlight for Luana Santos because when Maria tapped, she was tapping with both hands. She was like, "Oh my gosh, get me out of here!" And her mouthpiece fell out. He says, she's got a decent power for a little gal.
Hey, the Deuce Man's onto something.
Tracy Eyelash Bandit.
Yeah, you'll see why.
Oh, by the way, what's up, Juice Man? Good to see you. It's the first time I've seen you in here. So
nice to meet you, Juice.
So our next fight was Montel Jackson defeating Damone Blackshear in 18 seconds. What a great fucking KO. Pretty vicious shot in which Damone Blackshear had walked right into it as soon as Damone threw his finishing blow. I picked Damone Blackshear mostly because I didn't really think that Montel's win streak was that credible. Beating Ronnie Hanayaya at this point in the UFC is like pretty, I don't know, not impressive. Dude, Hank the Tank said in his preview that Damone had dropped like all of his opponents that he had fought, or at least
Montel Jackson had dropped every opponent.
Yeah, Jackson had dropped all of his opponents. Or I think I read a stat later that was the last 7. But yeah, fuck, put him out quick and holding true to his nickname, Quick. Yeah, this is
yeah, he got him out of there quick.
Fantastic knockout.
Yeah. So yeah, I called this. I wouldn't say perfectly again because I didn't get the method of victory, but I did.
Thank you for the sub, Juice Man. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Juice Man. I love your profile pic, by the way. That's classic Nate Diaz. He must be thrilled that Nate won his boxing match against Jorge Masvidal, and I was too. I would jump for joy with that stuff. Stockton, motherfucker, 209. But yeah, with this one, Montel Jackson, I said that he'd have power in his punches, and that with his knockout power, he's dropped all of his opponents so far. And I think that Dominic Cruz said it best when he was on commentary for this fight. I swear he was a fucking psychic for this one. He literally talked about how Montel Jackson had super straight shots that are his like most powerful tool, and like they're right down the pipe and you don't see him coming. And literally 2 seconds later, he hits Jackson with the 1-2 that puts him out. So Dominic Cruz was fucking psychic in that one. And I'd say I'm semi-psychic in terms of how I saw this fight going. But yeah, I just thought that Jackson would have the better power of the two of them. We didn't really get to test my theory that he'd be able to stuff Blackshear's takedowns, since Blackshear never really got an opportunity to take him down. And if he was able to, maybe this fight would have turned out a little differently. But at the same time, even if he got Jackson down, he can get up relatively quickly, and he's done so against grapplers before. And again, he's knocked down those grapplers. And for this one, he just had the perfect timing. Blackshear was coming in with a really unorthodox shot, and meanwhile, Montel Jackson was just throwing straight 1-2s right down the pipe. And he caught him as his chin was coming in, which made the blow like especially brutal, because he ran right into a brick wall and fell right on his back. And on top of that, I tell you, man, when these guys fall back and they hit the back of their head on the mat, that's a wrap. And that's what happened when Damon Blackshear hit the deck, he was out. He sort of looked a guy told me this in the chat, and I think he was right. He looked like Ben Askren. He was just laying on his side, just completely out cold. And Jackson looked like a total badass in this one. So you cannot deny his status as a contender now, and I hope he gets a top 15 opponent or someone close in the future.
And Paradox asks what's next for him. To me, like, do anything with him. Let him fight whoever, just as long as it's above him in the rankings. As for like a top 15, I mean, I think his win streak probably warrants it. But yeah, as far as like an actual name, I don't think it really matters too much. This guy at this point is must-see TV, and throw him in there with whoever.
At this point, I was on a 5. Was I at 4 or was I at 5 fight win streak? I think I was.
This would be 4.
This is my 4th win. So I had a 5 fight streak going on, but this was 4. I think this was my best moment yet. I think this was the prediction I'm most proud of. And then soon after that, it all went downhill. But at least I had that nice little hot streak at first.
Juiceman says, actually, I thought George won. I'm not biased. I love Georgia and Nate. Just wish they would have kept it MMA. But hey, what can you do? Yeah, I mean, the boxing match was actually pretty good. Blew my standards away. But
yeah. Let me look. So this was at, it was at bantamweight?
Yeah, 135.
Okay. Let me look at some people in the top 15.
Yeah, I lent the time machine to Cruz. We got a time machine over here. I should have used it better, but,
I think 2 opponents that I would find interesting for Jackson would be either Jonathan Martinez coming off his loss, because I think that would be a really great style matchup. Who's got the more powerful strikes, the leg kicks, or the 1-2s? Or you got to fight with him and Mario Batista. Because of the timing, probably works well since that was Blackshear's last opponent, and Batista's probably waiting for a fight. So I'd put that one together. See how.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to give a name out, but I think anybody works. But yeah, next fight was Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Fatima Klein. Another late notice fight that was just like randomly put together. Jasudavicius looked great, though she was 35, fighting a 24-year-old. Fatima Klein just showed that she didn't really belong in there on short notice, but what are you going to do? I mean, Jasmine handled her pretty good. Some good ground and pound in there. She just kind of looked outmatched, Fatima, that is, in this fight. Not much to really say for me on that one. Got the pick right, though.
Yeah, for sure. Finally, let me think. What were our numbers at that point? So I was 4-0, and I think you were like 1-3 at that point, right?
Yeah.
But you brought it back with the 2-3, and by the time that the show was over, we both looked pretty rotten. But I had a nice head start. But with this fight, Jasudavicius looked like a vintage Jasmine Jasudavicius, and I think that's for better and for worse, because she looked great in the grappling. She was able to get Klein down and dominate her in terms of getting back mount as well as being on top and throwing punches. But Jasmine Jasudavicius, man, she looks so sloppy on the feet. Her head is just like a human target for punches. Like, unless she's against a really mediocre striker who's better at grappling, like, she's not going to get the better of her opponents when it comes to the exchanges. And maybe that's just my brain that wanted to keep his streak so bad to save his life, and I was critiquing her a little bit too much. But yeah, I mean, striking is not her strong suit, and I think the problem is just her defense. Like, her offensive striking is solid. It's just whenever she goes in for a punch, she usually eats a 1-2 in the process. But Jasmine was able to get her down, sort of like Petrosky, but I like Jasudavicius's grappling a lot more than I do Petrosky's grappling. So she still made this somewhat entertaining, and great prelim so far, and I'm on a 5-fight streak, but it's about to come to an end real soon. Yeah,
so the next fight was Charles Johnson viciously knocking out Joshua Van. I thought this fight was great. Joshua Van was walking down Charles Johnson, but Charles Johnson was firing back with great shots, really picking his time for his strikes. Really nice. I thought this was a tough fight to pick. I did not count Charles Johnson out in this fight, though I did pick Van to win. And in which, actually, at the time of the stoppage, the 3 judges were pretty mixed, because one judge had it 2 rounds for Charles Johnson. Another had it 2 rounds for Joshua Van. Mm-hmm. And then the other judge had it split 1-1.
Yikes.
But holy shit, who saw Charles Johnson getting a knockout. Like, even in his LFA fights, I don't think he really ever knocked guys out. And I think this is his first knockout in the UFC. Correct me if I'm wrong, but holy shit. I was pretty shocked when the uppercut landed. And it was a perfectly placed uppercut at that.
Hey, Jamie, look that up.
Okay, smoked him. And shit, dude. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about matchmaking for Charles Johnson after your breakdown.
You were really close to being right about him never getting a knockdown other than this fight. He got one against Jimmy Flick.
A knockdown? Oh, a knockout. Against Jimmy
yeah,
Flick.
And isn't that a prestigious knockout? A good old Jimmy Flick.
Sure, yeah. The iron chin that is Jimmy Flick. But yeah, what say you on this?
Well, Nate Maness wasn't able to knock Jimmy Flick out, but that could be the gloves. That could be anything. Let me move up a little bit. Whoopsie. So with this fight, Joshua Van, I sort of said this beforehand. I didn't say what I obviously got a wrong outcome here, but I did say that Joshua Van, he has a slow start when it comes to his fights. He usually gets tagged up in the first round and looks like sort of an amateur, sort of like a Peter Yan, except I think worse, because he just can't find his timing until it's the second round, and the coaches told him how he's looking in there and what his opponent's doing. Because I've never seen him have a good first round. I've seen him get knockouts and he's had dominant performances, but I haven't seen one performance from Van where he came right out of the gate looking strong, ready to piece up his opponent. Oh, he's got him hurt. Never happened in the first round. And that continued in this one. I had Johnson up 1-0 going into the second round. I think that Joshua Van had more significant strikes than Charles Johnson for most of round two. Some had it for Charles Johnson, but I didn't see any significant stuff from Johnson. He didn't tag Van with anything for those 5 minutes. And so, and Van had the better combinations. I said it before, he'd have the more flashy striking of the two of them, and he did, because whenever he had energy up against the fence, he was able to crack him with some body shots, some uppercuts. Like he had his timing down in the second round, but I think that was enough to make it 1-1. So I'd agree with that judge that had it tied going into the third round. But I'm telling you, man, give the guy who coached Charles Johnson in round 3 like a $50K bonus, because if he motivated energy to let out his G and become outer G in that third round, I think he should be rewarded for that, because Johnson came into that third round like a house of fucking fire and immediately just started throwing on Joshua Van. He assumed that he fought like he thought he was down 2 rounds, because he was perfect in that third round. And it wasn't even before that uppercut, man. I think he stumbled Van with like a right hand or a left hand, because Van was already wobbling and he was leaning over to the side. And then Johnson hit him with that picture-perfect Uros Medic style uppercut. It was clean, dude. Dude, the slow-mo of that uppercut was fucking nasty. That looked so aesthetically pleasing. Like, that was fantastic. More aesthetically pleasing than Leon Edwards' physique, I got to say. And it was a perfect uppercut. Beautiful stuff from Charles Johnson. I will say there was one thing that we could have missed going into this fight, because remember his fight with Jake Hadley? He hit Hadley with an overhand right that dropped him. Like he was stuffing the takedowns. He was doing his stuff like he did against Matson. But then he unleashed that power and he actually dropped his last opponent. So there was actually decent potential for him to have some knockdown power against Joshua Van. And that's exactly what he did. That Van's chin is way more fragile than we thought it was. And Charles Johnson, man, I think he's entering his prime at this point. He's actually starting to look fantastic as both a grappler and as a striker. So I want to see him get a contender next. Again, this is sort of like Montel Jackson. I want to see him get a top 15 opponent at this point. He deserves it. They're throwing everything at him. And
yeah, by the way, what's up, Joshua? And what's up, Vulcan? Good to see you.
Hey, Vulcan. What's up?
So what should be next for Charles Johnson? I got the rankings pulled up here. You said you want to see him against the top 15. You know, this is flyweight we're talking about, and it doesn't take much for you to get moved up the rankings in flyweight, because there's not a lot of flyweights. See Steve Urseg getting a title shot. But
why the hell is David Dvorak still top 15?
I don't know if David Dvorak is actually in the UFC anymore.
That ranking makes no sense then.
I think that the bot, that bot channel that shows you who's in the rankings and who's not. I think that it said that he was cut, but who knows?
Yeah.
So most of the guys down on the top 15 are actually already booked. I like him versus Tagir Ulanbekov.
Yeah, I like that too.
I think that's a good fight. You got Mateus Nicolau and Alex Perez, and this is Tapology rankings that I'm using, by the way. Mateus Nicolau and Alex Perez are at 11 and 10. I don't want to see them fight. Alex Perez just had an injury, and Mateus Nicolau just got viciously knocked out.
They already fought each other.
I don't like matching up guys on losing or guys with losses against guys with wins, but yeah, I think Tagir Ulanbekov is a good fight for him. And then
I think it's a good style matchup for him as well. He's been facing nothing but wrestlers, so that actually be a decent but not very hard challenge.
Yeah,
for him.
and two guys on winning streaks. I mean, if the chat has another suggestion, we'd like to hear it.
Let's read through the chat a little bit. They're starting to pile up a bit.
You're talking about Joshua Van.
Yeah, they're saying he's more of like an atom weight or straw weight.
6 foot flyweights. Yeah, that's fucking strange to me.
Yeah, he's got a ceiling. That's true. But hey, I'm not gonna doubt Charles Johnson again in his next fight, dude. It's costing me too much.
Yeah, no 115, and I mean, hey, there's always one championship, and he is from Myanmar. So
hey, you can call him a weight bully all you want. The man's talented, and he's in more ways than one. So call him a weight bully. He's actually beaten all these other prospects. There's nothing you can really say about that.
He says he's the smallest flyweight in the division. Yeah. Anyway, our next fight. I actually tuned out for this one. I was kind of doing some other shit. It ends in no contest. I'll let Hank take the reins on this one.
I guess you could call this a fight. It's also so weird not seeing anything underneath the names on Tapology. I have not seen that before. That looks sort of spooky. I'm a little insecure about that right now. But yeah, I was starting to do bad going into this fight. I thought it would be an easy comeback, win for me on my Tapology picks for Al Hassan, because it's Cody Brundage. Okay, he can present you with a takedown. He can stuff a few takedowns, but he has absolutely nothing on the feet. And I think that Cody Brundage knew that going into this fight, because the first thing he did was shoot a takedown on Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And he failed the takedown because, he's Cody Brundage. And Al Hassan started to hit him with back elbows to the side of the head. And Cody started to stumble a bit while he had Al Hassan's leg. This was just such a fucking weird fight from start to finish. There was not 1 second that there was any sort of traditional MMA in here, because Brundage got rocked and yet he somehow could not let go of Al Hassan's leg. And so now they were moving from the side of the fence all the way to the middle. And now it looks like, Cody Brundage is on one knee. I was super hyped for Al Hassan because I thought, oh, this is going to be like a Pereira versus Yuri. This is going to be like a Blades versus Almeida. He's going to keep hitting him with those elbows to the side of the head, and then he's going to go down. And then Al Hassan, lo and behold, throws one elbow that hits the back of the head. Cody Brundage moved himself. They said it was accidental. Some said it was intentional. Others said it was unintentional. I don't give a fuck. It was to the back of the head. It is what it is. That's why they made it a no contest.
I like this comment from Paradox, though. He says, I need to rewatch the finish because I've seen many back of the head finishes they knew nothing about. That is an excellent point.
I'd also like to mention Cyril Gahn does it all the fucking time. They never do anything for his back of the head shots because it's heavyweight. Oh, you want to see a good finish. So, yeah, there's definitely some corruption there when it comes to back of the head shots, but apparently not when the two guys are fucking scrubs, and not when they're on the main card of a fight night. Cody Brundage on the main card after jobbing out to Bo Nickel. Brilliant booking, Dana and Hunter. Go buy yourself something nice, you fucking nitwits. But, yeah. So Cody Brundage was on the main card, and he did exactly what you expect from a Cody Brundage. This happened before. He had a fight against
Malkoun.
Yes, Jacob Malkoun. And Malkoun was hitting him with a back of the head shot or with a low blow or whatever. I think it was a back of the head shot. It was another back of the head shot. And he was beating the brakes off of Brundage. And I swear to God, Brundage must just bow his head down or something, because these guys are hitting him in the back of the head. But Brundage has back of the head privilege because they made that a win for him. They demoted him a little bit for this one because it ended up being a no contest instead. But yeah, Brundage does what Brundage does. Find a way to somehow not lose when the other guy's fucking dominating you from start to finish.
And yeah, he's continuing the trend of being Hank's favorite fighter. But actually, Hank's favorite fighter fought in this fight right here. Julian Erosa defeats Christian Rodriguez via submission, round number 1, with 10 seconds to go, actually. I said in my preview that Julian Erosa was not the guy his record is deceiving because he's a dynamic guy. He's like a get or get got guy. He's always in a good fight. He loses good and he wins good. Though he doesn't have like a lot of knockout power, he is a slick submission artist at times. Again, he's not winning most of his fights. It's actually kind of surprising that he's still signed with the UFC, but it is because he is exciting. This was a pretty competitive fight up until like the halfway point, and you could start to see that Julian Erosa just had a little bit more tricks in the bag, and C-Rod was not able to really keep up with that. And then he ends up getting caught in the sub. I know that Hank has a lot to say about C-Rod, so I'm going to let him do his thing.
I just felt a wave of relief just wash over me, even hearing that C-Rod got tapped out by Julian Erosa. The pure fucking catharsis, dude, could power an entire factory, the catharsis that I was feeling after this result. Let me just break down, for those who don't know, the UFC of Christian Rodriguez, just what he's done in the UFC from beginning to end. So I don't give a fuck about any of the fights that he had before the Raul Rosas Jr. fight. He had a decent fight on the Contender Series. That's why they let him in. He then comes overweight. I don't know how many pounds it was, probably 2 or 3 pounds overweight against Raul Rosas Jr., who was undefeated prospect, just been on the Contender Series, 17, 18-year-old kid, phenom in the UFC, incredible grappler. And so they wanted to push this kid to the moon. Already talking about winning a world title at bantamweight. And Christian Rodriguez comes overweight against him. And like the fucking Squidward Chad that he is, Raul Rosas Jr. takes the fight. And then Christian Rodriguez wins by using his weight advantage to basically get Raul Rosas Jr. down and beat him up over 3 rounds and just lay and prey on him like fucking Gamrot. And so he wins that one. Already my blood is starting to boil just seeing this guy fight. And then he has another fight against Cameron Simon. He enters that fight overweight, as will. The flabby fucking bitch can't wait to save his life. Literally, if you had a gun to his head, he couldn't make weight like Calvin Gastelum. He just can't get out of the fucking fridge. And he's not a natural weight for that weight class. So he comes in overweight 2 times in a row against Cameron Simon. Beats the brakes off of him. I'll admit, he had better striking than Cameron Simon did. And obviously Peyton Talbot did too. But Christian Rodriguez, once again, a cheater going into the fight and wins, which took away any authenticity or validity of his win in that one. Kills 2 prospects, and then finally make his coach, because it definitely wasn't him, because C-Rod's a fucking moron. His coach probably tells him to move up to featherweight because he knows that he's an out-of-shape fucking dad bod moron. And he goes up to featherweight against Isaac Bulgarian. Gets taken down, absolutely destroyed for 2 rounds, just out-grappled, wrestle-fucked by Bulgarian. And then he comes back with a few 1-2s, a little bit of striking, and somehow that's enough to win himself the fight against Bulgarian. And one of the most blatant robberies I've seen in recent UFC history. It was fucking rotten. It was a nice fight, but you take away any enjoyment and any authenticity and legitimacy of that fight by just giving it to D-Rod when he clearly, at best, got a draw against Bulgarian. So at that point, I'm fucking...
That's how I scored it.
I'm hate maxing against Christian Rodriguez. I hate this fucking weasel. And I'm hoping that whoever his opponent is fucking breaks his neck or taps that bitch out. Or better yet, flatlines him. I didn't get the best outcome, but I got one that I needed here against Juicy J, Julian Erosa, who we saw get a miraculous guillotine against his last opponent. And honestly, man, we should have seen it coming. C-Rod, what a bitch. What a low IQ fighter. No skill on his end. And, he has this fight with Julian Erosa. He's tagging him up. Classic C-Rod, just like he did against Bulgarian. I'm the best, guys. See, all those weight misses were history, man. I'm the best. I'm going to be a featherweight champion. Wrong. Because, as Stone Cold would say, because he was piecing up Erosa, and then what did Erosa do? He took that flabby bitch down, and when he fell down, he was like the whale. When he hit the mat, and then you hear the sound wave when that Homer Simpson dad bod hit the mat. And Julian Erosa gets to his back, tries to lock in the rear naked choke. He just can't find it, and he's too high up on Christian Rodriguez's back. And I had a little bit of hope, and then it got snapped away. And I got my head in my hands at this point because I knew that was the kill shot, and he wasted it. And then literally 4 seconds later, he got him into an Armin guillotine, and like his arms were just going like a little baby Christian Rodriguez is. So yeah, he taps C-Rod out. Honestly, I would have preferred if the ref was like, okay, that's enough, Erosa. That's enough. Hold on. I got to have him in there for 5 more seconds. I would have preferred that. But like I said, C-Rod goes through the windshield of the hot rod. And if I were Dana, I'd cut him. Cost him too much money. You know, he's just bad for business.
Yeah, so the C-Rod fandom of Hank continues, and I know he's just looking forward to his next fight.
Yeah, I don't care that I got the pick wrong.
As for Juicy J, do you have like a name or a pick for him? I think, like I said, he's so up and down. Match him up with anybody. Give him at least more than like 4 days or a week's notice, though. And I think any fight this guy's in, it's always good. So I was really happy to see him get a win.
Yeah, Juicy J is super fun. Dr. J.
Crystal has a question for you.
Well, he definitely spends a lot of his time watching the 1960 Alfred Hitchcock film Psycho. I don't know why he does it, but you know what they say.
Good evening.
A boy's best friend is his mother. And I think that Christian Rodriguez, he's going to pull a Homelander after his loss. He's going to get back to wherever the fuck he's from and start sucking on his mother's teeth after this loss, like Homelander.
All right, well, we should move on to the next one before Hank has an aneurysm. Gabriel Bonfim defeats Angelusa via three-round via decision. I thought that Gabriel Bonfim would do a lot better than he did in this fight. I thought Angelusa hung in there pretty well. He made it pretty scrappy with Bonfim, but overall Bonfim just kind of outclassed him as the judge's decision was read. 2 of them had 30-27 for Bonfim. 1 gave 1 round to Angelusa. But, you know, this is a good bounce back fight for Bonfim. They wanted him to get a win after the Nicholas Dalby knockout. And I don't know if he looked like super good, but definitely got the win in advance. Good for him. But just a pretty lackluster fight. But maybe we didn't give enough credit to Angelusa because I thought he looked all right in there. But yeah. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, I had pretty much the same pick as you, except it was by submission instead of knockout. Yeah, man, it was strange, this fight, because I think I predicted very accurately that Angry Loser was going to have nothing on the feet. Pressure is his only game. And Gabriel Bonfim, I thought, was the better striker of the two. He definitely showed it in the fight because Angelusa came at him with 1-2s and crosses and hooks, and almost all of them hit Gabriel Bonfim's guard. I swear he was like a full foot away from his face with every single punch that he threw. But Gabriel Bonfim, we ended up seeing the striking credentials of Bonfim on display. Everybody thought that he was just like a one-trick pony, guillotine-only kind of fighter, but he really showed it. Yeah, he had great knees, exactly. And he had good punches too. His stand-up is very underrated, but I actually think his guillotines is what almost cost him at points in this fight because he would go for it, and unfortunately, sometimes you can predict what your opponent's going to do, but you can't predict your opponent's frame sometimes because every time he jumped on Angelusa, he was just too tall, and as he was leaning back, he kept slipping out of the guillotine, and Loser would end up on top, and that's a shame because oh god. Skatesman's gone. Whoopsie. I'll call the rest of this one until he gets back. But yeah, Bonfim, great striker. His submission offense just did not work well against Ange Lusa's form of fighting or his frame. And that was the story for all 3 rounds. Lusa had absolutely nothing for Gabriel Bonfim. So honestly, I think one more loss and he should be cut from the UFC. Ange Lusa's fighting style is not fun. He's a pressure-only fighter, but he has no striking offense. So this was Gabriel Bonfim's world for the most part. I don't think he's good enough to give him a guy in the top 15, but definitely give him another contender near it because he has the name value as part of the Bonfim brothers. But yeah, he's a very underrated striker. I'm glad he got to show it, but wish he could have gotten a finish because after this fight, I was starting to get a little bit tired from just the pure thrill and excitement and happiness of watching Julian Erosa's guillotine Christian Rodriguez. I was coming off the high at this point, and I needed another finish to get me back up, but didn't happen pretty much for the rest of the card.
Yeah, see you later, Isha. Glad you stuck around for as long as you did, man.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you. And thank the Lord that C-Rod lost because I watched his chat during this time and he was like, let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Fuck you, C-Rod. That's what he was saying. Robbery decision, bitch. So Isha's just as thrilled about this as I am. And if you don't know, now you know that C-Rod's a flabby bitch. And anyone who's in the know should be just as thrilled as Isha and I are that guy got fucking choked out like a pansy.
You guys would take this shit way too serious, man. So next for Gabriel Bonfim, you don't have a name in mind. Let's see. I'm gonna check the rankings here real quick. Tapology has him at 27. Some names above him include Jake Matthews, Gunnar Nelson.
Ooh, that'd be fun. He hasn't had a fight in a while.
Muslim Salikov, Chaos Williams. I think that's a little bit up too high, but the UFC does really want to push this guy. Maybe you give him a guy like Chaos Williams. Yeah, anyone below the top 15, I agree with you. It's a good fight for him. But he needs to be, in my opinion, in an interesting style matchup, where he can show off his striking and get a knockout, hopefully.
Hey, well, we got a new surprise guest. It's Tyrone. Wow. It sounds like that South Park character, the guy who owns the Chinese restaurant. Oh, shitty walk coming out my asshole.
I think that's exactly what he was going for. Got Cartman over there for y'all. But anyway, our next fight. We'll move up the card. Ooh, this fantastic fight, which got fight of the night. Gian Silva defeats Drew Dober because of that nasty cut in the third round. I picked Drew Dober to get this one done by third round knockout. Turns out Gian Silva gets the doctor stoppage in the third round.
You tell him doctor stoppage.
But Gian Silva surprised me in this one, and he really showed me that he has masterful distance control and range. Whenever Drew Dober would rush in, Gian Silva would just kind of expertly counter him. Though Dober did get off some good shots on him, I thought that he was just always out of range for the big one. Gian Silva showed off his excellent chin, and as did Drew Dober, to be fair to him. But man, Gian Silva, this fucking guy, dude, is just a fucking animal. He's on a tear. One thing I didn't really like too much was all the weird hugging and high-fiving, but that's part of him. That's part of his gimmick, so good for him. But yeah, as the Juice Man says, he put on a clinic, and he's got a new fan in me. Hey, I'm right there with you, man. I'm sold on this guy.
I've been a fan of Gian Silva since day one, ever since his fight with Weston Wilson. I love this guy.
And I've been picking against him, and him knocking out Weston Wilson wasn't impressive to me. I didn't think Weston Wilson was that good of a fighter. But holy shit, man. Credit to Gian Silva. He deserved that fight of the night bonus. Unfortunately for Drew Dober, he accepted this opponent on short notice, and it cost him. But I don't know, man. I'm not going to count Drew Dober out just yet. It was kind of weird at the end of the fight. Drew Dober stuck around for the interview. I thought he was going to retire, but he just wanted to thank the fans in Colorado. Good for him. But yeah, man, dude is a phenom, and I just can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah. So I had him by knockout earlier than you, but yeah, this was one-sided traffic from Gene Silva. He just had an answer for everything that Dober threw his way. I really think that Dober's striking is actually a bit overrated because I saw him against Hinato Moicano, and Dober, for the life of him, couldn't really get a clean shot. On Hinato Moicano, he was throwing at his guard with, uppercuts and big meaty hooks, as Flucus Glacy would say, but again, it's sort of like Angelusa, where it hits the guard and he's like a million miles away from the guy's head. Like he comes in with a lot of power, but I just think with his frame, almost like his broad shoulders, and he's very stocky and he's like well built muscle wise, no ditty, and he's got a solid build, but because of that tree trunk kind of body, I think it's just hard for him to get in with shots without getting hit himself. And this has always been, I think, his major weakness. Like he's got the Dober chin for a reason. People realize how good his chin is, just like Vittori's chin, for a reason, because their striking actually really isn't that good. It's because they've got all right striking is why they're getting hit so often. But he made up for that by having a really good chin and eventually finding the knockout. He could not find anything against Gene Silva. All of his punches were hitting the guard. Even when he connected with shots, he never stumbled Gene Silva. Like his accuracy with the strikes was honestly, I think, an all-time low. And Gene Silva capsized on it and was a base Chad during the fight, by the way, because he knew that those little gloves wouldn't be able to put Dober away. So he kept hitting with those elbows on the exact same spot every single time too, which was actually, I don't know if that was accidental or not, but if that was intentional, that was a high IQ move because he hit him right above the right eye brow. And he looked like a fucking horror movie by the time the third round came around. Like, it's amazing how accurate he was in hitting that cut over and over again, because blood was just pouring down the face of Drew Dober to the point where he could have looked like he could have cosplayed as Two-Face for Halloween because of how red one side of his face was. But yeah, Drew Dober, he just couldn't get anything done offensively against Silva, and Silva countered with perfectly timed elbows. And as soon as I see a guy sort of like Peyton Talbot have perfect shots with, like, the edges of the elbow or with knees, and when he's perfectly timing those, I know this guy's a real talent, and that he's great everywhere, not just in the perfect timing of the fist, as we saw against Charles Jourdain with that perfectly timed uppercut on him, sort of like Charles Johnson against Joshua Van, the uppercut. But he's got elbows too, man. We just keep seeing new tools in John Silva's game, and he just keeps showing them, man. This guy's getting better and better every fight he has, and yeah, it was one-sided traffic this entire fight. And then the doctor came in. He stopped it. Honestly, obviously that was one of the most nasty cuts I've seen all year. So yeah, you should absolutely be stopping that as a doctor. And John Silva dominates Drew Dober from start to finish. There wasn't one moment where John Silva looked afraid or was hurt. Again, like you, the only gripe I have about John Silva isn't in his performance in the octagon. It's all the antics that he gets up to before, during, and after. I will say I love that he comes in like a fucking G with a fucking 8 Mile Eminem hoodie coming out to scary music. I love that shit. It's that he's him kind of energy. But then once he's in the cage, he pulls a fucking Charles Oliveira, kissing everybody on the fucking forehead, hugging it out. Hey man, that high kick missed. Give me some skin. Oh, too slow in the middle of the fight. That stuff gets fucking annoying. But I think it was at that point when he was doing antics in the cage, I was like, oh, fuck, it's over. It's over for Drew Dober. Now John Silva's having fun. He's got too much momentum. He's pulling a Yoel Romero. There's nothing that Dober's going to do. As soon as he was taunting Dober, I knew that he was fucked. But John Silva, dude, I got to start calling him Wah Silva down the line, because the man is fucking a town crier for every single fight that he's in the post-fight presser and even before the fight starts, dude. The man needs to get a control of his emotions. The man's starting to get a little unstable, and I'm not just talking about the like, again, Yoel Romero. I think he might actually be Yoel Romero's bastard son. I'm gonna have to do some research into that, but yeah, as long as he keeps his emotions in check, I think he's got a bright future. He needs to learn from the Alex Pereira school of not having emotions and just being a complete killer. Because if he's a fucking stone-faced, Moe Stonehenge kind of guy going into his next fights, I think at featherweight, I don't I think he shouldn't move up to lightweight. He should stay at featherweight and keep that power. He's got a bright future, and I honestly think that he could be a staple in the top 15 at featherweight. I love Jean Silva. Just get some things in check. A very humble guy like Charles Oliveira and the Brazilian shit, but as long as he cuts a little bit of that out and starts to realize that he's a professional, I think he's got a very bright future.
Yeah, I think Juice Man had a great comment. He says that he traded him almost the way MVP traded.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But as far as the stoicism, I don't agree with that. I think you should let fighters be who they are. Let them have their personality. I'm cool with it, all the antics, though I don't really like them. Except for the kissing part. Like, don't kiss a guy after you knock him out viciously. So you want to see him stay at featherweight? I personally don't care. I think he's probably going to be ranked in both divisions after this fight. But I think featherweight's probably the better option. Do you have a name in mind for who you'd like to see him fight next at featherweight? Because I'm thinking him versus your boy Nate the Train would be a fantastic.
No, please don't do this to another one of my heroes, man. I can't take it. I'm actually going to get clinical depression if they book that fight. Like, seriously, I might.
All right, so what do you want to see? I'm liking the Nate the Train fight. Maybe
he's good enough for a ranked opponent. He's good enough for a ranked opponent, man. Oh man, he's going to be a future GOAT. I wouldn't have him fight an unranked guy like Nate Landwehr. I'd have him up against maybe good old Lerone Murphy or Bryce Mitchell, brother. One of those two. Great. Book it.
I mean, Bryce Mitchell just got brutally knocked out. I don't want to see that.
He didn't just get knocked out. It's been half a year. He can come back.
Nah, I don't want to see that for him. But that's just
whatever.
Me. Oh, Paradox agrees with you. He does not want to see the Nate the Train
Fuck
fight.
that, dude. Give Nate Bryce Mitchell. Battle of the Country Bumpkins.
You just love Bryce Mitchell more than you love C-Rod, apparently.
Yes.
He likes the Lerone Murphy matchup. Yeah. Do whatever with John Silva, man. I mean, the guy's fucking awesome. This is where the card took a turn for the worst, unfortunately.
Yes.
I mean,
okay, Isha's gone. We can shit on this fight.
I mean, I'm not gonna shit all over this fight, dude. It's two guys way out of their prime. I thought that Muslim Salikov really looked old after his last fight, where he got knocked out by Randy Brown. I think that, or was it? I can't remember. I thought he looked really old in his last fight. Santiago Ponzinibbio did enough for the win. I don't think that this was a controversial one. I saw a lot of people saying they thought Salikov won. I thought he was the better striker, but this is MMA. Ponzinibbio mixed it up good. We did see some old flashes of Salikov in which he landed that spinning kick and rocked Santiago in the third round or the second round. But I mean, I thought it was close, and I think that okay, Muslim Salikov did get the win. My bad.
Yes, he got the win, Idaho, which is why Isha loved this fight, because he loves the King of Kung Fu Muslim.
Yeah, like I said, I thought he looked old in his last fight, but he kept the striking nice. Again, a lot of people thought that this was like a controversial decision. I wasn't of that mindset, though I did pick Ponzinibbio to win. But yeah, showed some flashes of his old self, but again, the fight wasn't super good, and that's what you get when you got these two old, washed welterweights fighting. What say you about this one?
Yeah, you should know that you're a rotten striker when 40-year-old plotty Russian Muslim Salikov is quicker on the feet than you are.
No, dude, I'm not going to let you sit there and shit all over Muslim Salikov. He has his nickname, the King of Kung Fu, because he was the first foreigner to go over to China and win a Sanda tournament, which is basically kickboxing. This guy's a legend, really.
Yeah,
in Russia.
I mean, he is. But
what he's done and with his striking ability. So
I'm saying that he's 3 years the elder of Ponzinibbio. I'm saying that Ponzinibbio looked decent on the feet against Kevin Holland, but clearly he's just on a never-ending exponential decline because he just couldn't get any straight shots off against Muslim Salikov. Like, you're the fresher the opponent, and you looked fast in your last fight, but I think his brain is just killing him, and he just doesn't have the fundamentals anymore. Well, it's been a really sad downfall for Ponzinibbio. And
Ponzi had that.
He looked good against.
He had that epic run in which he damn near should have gotten a title shot, but then he was out for so long.
Right.
And that win streak capped off with that knockout of Neil Magny. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. I just, again, Muslim Salikov is a fantastic kickboxer.
So yeah, just with Salikov, yes, he is excellent. He was solid on the feet. He had a few kicks that came close against Ponzinibbio. His leg kicks were excellent. He had good body kicks as well. So he's obviously hasn't lost the kickboxing aspect of it, but he is a little. It's crazy that he's not slower, just given the difference in age between the two. But I think Ponzinibbio is just so bad at MMA right now that basically he just allowed himself to not have any offense against Salikov, and Salikov showed that he was the hungrier fighter of the two of them. And I think he could have honestly won 3 rounds of this. I honestly don't think Ponzinibbio won a round against him, because even when he took Salikov down, he had absolutely nothing when he got him down. He didn't even try to change position. He just tried. He didn't even land punches. He pulled a Bryce Mitchell against Dan Ige and showed absolutely no.
Never-ending Bryce Mitchell just
when he was
shit on.
Well, yeah, and Gamrot too. Fine, I mentioned Gamrot. Now are you happy? Because he laid on him like a fucking.
No, I'm not happy.
And had absolutely no offense. So he was terrible on the feet. He was terrible on the ground. Salikov somehow still has some gas in the tank. Still has some room to spare in his MMA career, and I'm glad that Muslim Salikov won. And in all honesty, I may be a little bit mean to Salikov in terms of his present state, but I wanted Salikov to win this fight because he was coming off a bad loss to Randy Brown, brutal knockout, and Ponzinibbio I don't give 2 shits about, whereas Salikov, I know that he's a legend in terms of combat sports. And so I wanted to see Salikov pull it off, and what do you know, he did. Now, at this point, my picks were doing pretty shit for almost the entirety of the main card. So, yeah, I was a little pissed throughout this fight, okay? And maybe it shows a little bit and how I'm breaking this thing down.
I did tune into your fight companion at this point, and yeah, your energy was a little bit down for sure. But yeah, to be fair, we just came off of an excellent fight of the night with Dober and Silva, so it is understandable.
Well, let me tell you, Santiago Ponzinibbio's energy was somehow lower than mine, and I was fucking depressed. So what should that tell you about Santiago Ponzinibbio? He's washed and he should be cut. Muslim Salikov's a fucking legend. Give him a ranked opponent. Why not? He's had the experience. Give him a Jose Aldo treatment. Come on now.
Should we matchmake for him? Let's check it out.
Oh, God, help us. Oh, God.
And as far as Ponzinibbio being cut, he's not going to get cut. He is part of the broadcast on the Spanish side. So, yeah, there's no chance of that, if you ask me. If Anthony Smith is still getting fights, I think that Ponzi scheme will come back. He'll
I don't want to put Old Yeller down, man. Just UFC do whatever with them.
Let's see. They got on Tapology. They got Muslim at 21.
Not bad.
Zaleski above him.
Oh wait, Paradox has a pick.
Oh, let's check it out.
He's got an idea.
Salikov versus Nico Price.
What a classic that would turn
That's
out.
A pretty damn good one. Do we give him somebody above him or below? I think he's fought a lot of these guys up here. Shit.
Let's give him a Robbie Lawler video package on his way out. It's more better than the Karate Hottie, that's for sure. It's more earned.
Shit, that might be the fight, dude. Or maybe you give him Bonfim on the way out. Yeah.
Nico Price is the ultimate guy to retire.
I think that we just got the pick for sure.
Yeah. Paradox, you are a valuable.
I actually like that pick. Give him Nico Price.
What a trooper.
Let's go. 2 wash fighters again. So we go on to our main event. Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez Holmes. Yeah, I mean, I thought that Tracy towards the end of the fight started looking better, but at one point she got her fake eyelash knocked off. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I mean, it was a good performance for Rose. I thought that Tracy looked pretty much lost in there through about 3 rounds. Didn't really have much for Rose. Looked like she came in on short notice. Would that have really changed if she had a full training camp? I don't think so, because I think Rose just had way too many tools. I don't know, man. I mean, Tracy, she figured out a way to pull out the wins in all her other fights, but I don't know, dude. Rose calling for a title shot after this, and also a women's BMF fight. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand from her perspective. She is a name, and this is a pretty. I mean, 125 is looking good as of late. So I don't know. I don't think that this is really the fight to give her a title shot off of, especially on a late notice, inexperienced opponent.
Yeah, we both called this fight pretty perfectly, I'd say, Skaseman. The only thing we didn't expect was Rose Namajunas actually showing the old Thug Rose a little bit and dropping Tracy Cortez, as well as dropping that piece of her fake eyebrow right off of her face. What a stud Rose is. And it just goes to show the women who end up rising to the top don't look good. So just don't have good looks going into the fight. Shave your head. Go through some chemo. Go have some anorexia, and you're going to find your way to the top real quick. And Rose Namajunas has just taught us that lesson again and again, for better or worse. Hey,
what's up, Kiwi? I like this idea. The boring mofo belt.
Yeah, she'd win that in a heartbeat for sure, man. But we can't knock Rose that much because she actually did knock Tracy Cortez down, and I think for the most part did try to finish her and had really solid stand-up. She actually hit her with some pretty big punches. But, this is a random UFC fight where you knock somebody down and then all the follow-up punches somehow don't have the same sting and don't have the same power, and somehow your opponent doesn't get dropped again. Happens every single time on the regional scene. He gets knocked down once and 5 seconds later gets knocked down again. But once you're at the professional level, your chin goes from 0 to 100 real quick as soon as you get knocked down, especially in a women's fight. And that's what happened here. I do think, however, that Rose Namajunas, for the most part, absolutely schooled Tracy Cortez. And, that gives her flashbacks to elementary school when I bring up that term. But I won't mention it anymore. She dominated the striking. And when times were tough against Cortez, she took her right down and absolutely controlled her, just like she did against Amanda Ribas. So Rose is solid from top to bottom. And not visually, but in terms of her game in MMA, yeah, she's a very well-rounded fighter. Again, not physically. But yeah, I think she won rounds 1 through 4. Got 4 rounds to 1, at worst 3-2. But Cortez was able to get Rose down at moments in round 5 and was able to get the better of her in the striking towards the end. But it's like Sean O'Malley versus Cheeto Vera. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if he did better towards the end, maybe if this were gladiatorial combat, Rose would be in trouble. But these fights have rounds, folks. It's over at the end. The time runs out. So Rose Namajunas, another dominant decision. I think she's honestly back in top 10, top 5 conversation. Like she should actually be fighting some real contenders at this point, because now she's found herself a bit of a hot streak, and it's starting to go back to the old Thug Rose. Gradually, bit by bit. But as long as she stays with that fucking freak of a husband, I don't see her going back to her original height.
Yeah, I think that they should book the Barber fight again. I think that's really the only fight to make for Rose, me personally. But maybe give her the Andrade rematch. But who knows, man? And that's the thing about Rose is, like, she always has this fight where she looks good, and then the next one she's unsure of herself, has to say I'm the best, I'm the best. I'm the best. So I don't know, man. What do you want to see next for Rose?
Let me see. Like she won this fight at flyweight, right? All right, let's take a look on the list. Give me 1 second to pull this shit up. Oh, man. Yeah, well, she lost to Manon Fiorot, but that was still a pretty close fight. Honestly, I think that should give her some credibility at flyweight. She's down at...
Not for a title shot, though, if you ask me.
Yeah. No. Obviously not at all. But I think she should get a jump up the rankings with these 2 really good wins. I think she should face... Wait, no, that's fucking pound for pound. Fuck off. She should... Wait, where is she? She's number 6. You know what would... Hey, rebook her versus Macy Barber.
Yeah, that's what I just said, and I think that's really the only fight to make in the weight class.
It makes sense, man. both women would be down. And she was, I think Macy Barber was at this.
Yeah,
fight.
that confused the shit out of me. Why are you in the stands for the fight you were supposed to be in?
That's not a really good look, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
yeah, whatever. It's fun to make.
That wraps up this pretty decent card until the last two fights.
I went through this with the events ranking because I have my own tier list. I went over it with No Chill MMA, which all of you should go and check out. No Chill MMA. He's a fantastic YouTuber, makes great videos as well as grinding through streams almost every single day. Check him out. He's a fucking gangster, and he's a member of the City Life Project too. So go check him out. In my ranking that I had for the events, I had this just above Cannonier versus Imavov, but right below Perez versus Nicolau, because Perez versus Nicolau has some underrated gems when it comes to finishes as well as fights. So it's right in the middle. I give it a B, so it's an 8 out of 10 in my books.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Actually, surprisingly that it was this good, and that's what I said in the preview. I was like, hey, look, man, like I'm not going to defend this card, but just because the name value wasn't high doesn't mean that the event was going to be bad, and it turned out to be actually pretty good. It exceeded my expectations for sure.
And hey, you know, it's going to be much better than Lemos versus Jandaroba. Pills! Where's my pills? Oh, thank God. What was I saying, Idaho? Was I mentioning something?
You were just mentioning how we're going to quickly go through the Jaron Ennis and David Avanesyan boxing card that took place at the same time of this. There was a fight between a man named Khalil Coe and a man named Kwame Ritter. This was for the WBC USA light heavyweight title. Wrap your head around that one.
Jesus.
Both of these guys were actually silver.
How do these belts exist? Why do they have them?
Both of these guys were actually different. Like one of them was like a WBC silver champion, and the other one was a WBA silver champion. And then they fought for the USA belt. So that was interesting. But regardless of the belt mashed potato-ness.
I have not seen a gold championship in my life. Where's the fucking bronze? Where's the gold? Why is it all fucking silver?
I mean, there is a super title, but we don't have to get into that. So Khalil Cole had a great knockout of Kwame. He dropped him, and then he stopped him. It was an excellent knockout. If you guys get a chance, go check this one out. We then had Ariel Helwani's favorite fighter behind Jake Paul, Sky Nicholson, in a very, very boring boxing event.
I mean, what the heck? She got robbed, you guys. I had an interview with her, and she's so nice. Oh, my matzo balls, give her the rematch, you guys.
Yeah.
On this dreary Tuesday morning.
And I was watching the Rush Hour Fight Club fight companion during this. Check out that channel if you get a chance. And he was shitting all over this fight. Rightfully so. I wanted to call in and do like an Ariel Helwani impression and be like, hey, guys, you know, Sky Nicholson, you know, she's the next biggest thing in boxing. But I don't think that my Ariel Helwani impression is as good as Hank's, so I didn't do it. But I mean, this fight was trash. But it was for, get this, the WBC World Female Featherweight title.
Wow. They should have Chris Cyborg move up to boxing. Wouldn't that be a spectacle?
And by the way, this is not a legit title, another trinket belt. But hey, you know what? She moves on, and she had a really terrible fight with this lady. And you know it's not a legit title because it was 10 rounds.
Yeah. Hey, Idaho, we got some differing opinions about boxing.
Boxing has been fire. Boxing is boring as fuck.
Well, you know, if it's been fire lately, somebody's put it out since then.
The undercards have been really good from the most recent cards. Good to see some new stars.
Uh-oh.
All right, it's 5 a.m. Hey, man. Thanks a lot, Paradox. Thanks for hanging with us, and you're a good man. Have a good Chadmas.
Thank you, Santa.
But yeah, no, I think that boxing has been great. And this is what happens with boxing. It goes up, it goes down. He's saying nothing but ducking after ducking. That's actually not true. A lot of the big fights have been made in recent years, but that just means that we will see some more ducking. So you're not entirely wrong.
Hooray!
We then had Boots Ennis defeating David Avanesyan. In between the 5th and 6th round, he had retired on the stool after getting dropped. But did you watch this fight at all?
Yes, I did. I watched the highlights of Ennis versus Avanesyan.
So David Avanesyan was a guy who got viciously knocked out by Terrence Crawford. He then came back with a win before getting this fight booked. That fight was also on by a promotion called Black Prime. I don't want to get into all that right now. But yeah, you haven't seen them hold a boxing event since then. Wonder why. But anyway, Boots really needed. People do seem to duck Boots. Well, the problem is his career has been really mismanaged, and he hasn't had a lot of fights for a young guy, which is terrible. But he's now with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Eddie Hearn's going to promote the shit out of him, and it's going to be a better partnership, I think. But Boots needed to really have a showcase here, and he really needed to stop David. And that was kind of shown in the way he fought. He was really aggressive, but David Avanesyan was in this fight for as long as it lasted. He was hitting Boots clean with a lot of good shots.
Sure.
But Boots, he shows why he's that dude at 147, and ends up getting a knockdown on David, opening up a cut. And actually, at one point, David's jaw was so swollen; it was visually swollen. I was actually getting a little concerned that his jaw might have been broken, and that probably had something to do with him quitting on the stool. Yeah, I don't know if he quit or if like the doctor stopped it, and then this corner stopped it. But either way, he did retire on the stool. But I don't know, man. Like I do understand that Boots had to be aggressive for this one, but I don't know, man. I didn't think it was his best performance, and he did get touched up a lot. A lot of people were saying that, David Avanesyan touched up Crawford a lot, but I kind of disagree. I think that this was not the best night for Boots, and he had admitted in the post-fight interview that he fell off, but I don't know, man. What do you think about this one?
I think at the same time, Ennis probably knew that he didn't have too much to fear in terms of the power from David Avanesyan, because he was walking through some of the shots, and whatever he was getting tagged up with, he delivered twofold against his opponents. He was hitting him with body shots and just clean right hands just through the guard. And I just think he had the power difference between the two of them. And I think it showed. Like you said, his jaw was just completely fucked after like the 4th or 5th round. So just a power difference, I think. And also slight technique advantage for Boots Ennis as well. He looked good in terms of what he was doing with the striking. It looked as good as ever. But in terms of the boxing defense, he needs to work on that a little bit. He needs to be a more well-rounded, more patient of a striker sometimes. But when he got that much power, who needs boxing defense sometimes? But his luck's definitely going to run out if he starts to fight better guys than those in the IBF.
Yeah, and even Bozy, his father, said in between rounds, he's like, "You're getting hit with dumb shit, man." And I don't know. It was strange. This is definitely the most I've seen Boots get touched up in a boxing match. Juice Man says Canelo versus Benavidez is going to happen like 5 years. Look how long it took for Ryan versus Haney. How long Ryan versus Tank. I mean, I don't know, dude. I understand what you're saying, and boxing is notorious for that. But one thing you got to give Ryan credit for is that he took those fights, and he took the Haney fight directly after the Tank fight. So I don't know, man. I disagree. I think that boxing has been on fire lately, and I'm actually really hyped. I think that a lot of the big fights have been getting made recently, but that's what boxing needs to do to stay alive. So they'll make some money, they'll look good for a while, and then I think eventually we'll start to see a lot of the ducking, like you were saying. But yeah, the problem with Boots right now is that he's in a weird spot. I don't think Crawford will fight him. So I mean, Crawford's moving up to 145 to fight Madrimov. Literally just a guy. So I don't know. I don't know what's next for Boots. Maybe give him Stanionis or one of the other guys in the top 5 at welterweight. But I think he really only is gunning for Crawford at this point, a fight in which I do not believe will be made.
Nice. That's a good recap of the boxing show. I learned quite a bit, not only from the Skatesman, but from that main event as well. I do want to have some good knowledge of boxing because I'm starting to get into the sport again, not only through this podcast, but also because of guys like Inoue, as well as Crawford, who are starting to make me excited again. You know, of course, boxing has its rotten decisions like that Oshaki Foster loss to fucking Conseco. So I'm gonna stay in sort of an abusive relationship with boxing, but as long as I get some nice unorthodox matchups like Diaz versus Masvidal, as well as guys who I've been following so far in the sport still getting nasty KO wins, like I'm gonna tune in.
Well, cool. I mean, I think that's really all there is to recap there. Congratulations on the picks, man. You did a lot better than me. I had one of my worst weeks, so
don't worry, we're gonna switch places for the next card. I'm sure of it.
Oh man, this guy is just all over boxing being terrible. Well, unfortunately, you're gonna get boxing coverage on this channel. So
sorry to hear it, fake Juiceman.
So yeah, you got anything else to say to the people?
Well, I got nothing to say in terms of the stuff we've already talked about regarding this weekend, but I do have something to talk about in terms of what I got recently. Check it out. Max.
Oh, that's sick, dude.
Last, man.
Damn, that's rad.
In the center, man.
I fuck with that.
Good stuff, man.
That's rad.
Love that t-shirt. And then I got this too. Hey, Shama. So I'm going to change my setup a little bit so that you can see a little bit more of those beauties. But as I invest more and more into the sport, you're going to start to see some newer and newer shirt designs coming your way. And yeah, I'm falling in love with the sport again, you guys. I was gone in 2017, but I'm back now. Fully committed. Fucking adrenaline junkie. Just hook it to my back.
Yeah, Matua, this is a Joe Louis versus Schmeling poster. I big fan of Joe Louis, one of my favorite boxers. So
gotta say, Juiceman, Idaho Skatesman does in fact actually skate. He actually went on a big nationwide tour. He's home now, but he was gone for like 2 or 3 weeks, and he was skating through every single major skate park he could find, dude. So this man, you call me an MMA junkie, this guy is committed to the grinding. That's why we call you the troopers and grinders, baby. You're an equal measure, man.
Yeah, it's been about 12 years now I've been skating for. So
yeah.
That's why my picks were shit this week, man. What can I say?
Yeah. If only he had done picks for skateboard competitions like the X Games, then he'd be undefeated, man.
Got too much fights to watch though, unfortunately. But yeah, anyway, I think that's the show, man. We'll be back with oh hell yeah, dude. That's what's up, man. Let's chat some more about that off air. But yeah, we got some other show ideas coming your way. We still promised you guys we'll do a draft. Sometimes we do settling the score, in which we go over a controversial decision that we disagree about and we argue for your entertainment. Got a draft coming up. I appreciate you, Kiwi. You're the man. Been chatting it up with you for a while now, and like to have you on the show one day. We're gonna do a MMA trivia show. So I think you'd be the man for the job. We can line up with the Australian timeline. So.
Yeah. I'd also like to announce that if you guys like what we're doing and you want to support the podcast, we got our Cash App down there that we've recently had right there. Hold on, it's coming. It's coming. Very long ticker we got right now. Good old Cash App. We got Skate Tank MMA money signs. So if you like what we do and you want to give us some support, hit that up. You don't have to, obviously. I do this show for free. You know, I just love talking about MMA with my main man. But we put a lot of work. We put a lot of hours into this thing. So if you guys want to support us any way you can, that's the way to do it. But we appreciate you guys, and you don't have to. You guys are the best. Our Skate Tank Army. As long as you're committed, brother.
Check out Hank's doing fight companions now, so check him out this Saturday.
Yeah, I'm covering that monstrosity, and I'm not just talking about the card. I'm talking about one of the women competing in the main event. So No Chill knows all about that. I think she stalks him more than hockey from home in his brain.
Oh my gosh,
she's in his dreams, or should I say his nightmares?
Well, let us know, man. Let us know what we need to do.
You have escaped the war zone and Verna Jandaroba for now. Fuck C-Rod.
Damn straight.